In the year 3029, humans no longer lived only on Earth. They now worked and traveled across the galaxy, side by side with strange and powerful alien races. But not every human lived a good life. Jake Carter was one of them. A former space soldier turned private investigator, Jake lived in a dirty apartment on Station 9, one of the oldest space stations in the system. He drank recycled water, ate protein cubes, and barely earned enough to pay his oxygen bill. He didn't smile much. Life had been hard for a long time. One rainy night, yes, Station 9 had fake rain. Jake received a strange message on his old holoscreen. The message was short: "You've been chosen. Come to Dock 17, midnight, alone, V." Jake didn't know any V, but he was broke. Curious and maybe a little desperate, he grabbed his coat and gun and walked into the neon-lit night. Dock 17 was quiet. Too quiet. Only one ship stood there. It was black, smooth, and expensive, clearly not from this station. Its design was alien. The ship's door opened with a hiss. Two tall, armored guards stepped out, followed by a man who wasn't a man. He was Varnook, a powerful alien from the Zorak Empire, known across the stars for money, war, and control. His skin was dark green and shimmered like metal. His eyes were gold and cold. "You are Jake Carter?" Varnook's voice was deep and calm. Jake nodded. "Yeah, that's me. You sent the message?" "Yes," Varnook said, walking closer. "I have a job for you." "A private job? One that pays very well?" Jake raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." Varnook showed a small device. A picture appeared in the air. A woman, beautiful, dark hair, sharp eyes. She looked almost human. "This is my wife," Varnook said. "She is missing. I want you to find her." Jake stared at the image. Something about her face felt familiar, but he said nothing. "Why me?" he asked. "Because you are unknown, quiet, cheap, and human," Varnook said without emotion. "She may be hiding on human worlds." Jake didn't like the way Varnook said human, like it was an insult. But he needed the money. "Fine," Jake said. "What's the catch?" "No questions," Varnook said. "You find her, you don't talk to her. You tell me her location, and I handle the rest." Jake nodded slowly. "And if I say no?" Varnook smiled cold and sharp. "Then I find someone else, but I pay in zenith crystals. Enough to change your life." Jake had never even seen one zenith crystal in his life. They were rare. They were power, and they were freedom. He looked at the picture of the woman again. "What's her name?" he asked. "Zira," Varnook said. Jake felt something move in his mind. That name, it echoed like an old dream. He shook it off. "Okay," Jake said. "I'll take the job." Back in his apartment, Jake sat on his bed, staring at Zira's image. He used his tools to scan her face. Alien databases were locked, but he knew how to break things. Still, her records were mostly missing. No ID, no history, nothing before 2 years ago. "She's a ghost," Jake muttered. Then, something strange happened. His screen glitched. A new message flashed quickly before it vanished. She didn't disappear. She escaped. "Don't trust him," Jake blinked. What the hell was that? He scanned again. Nothing. The message was gone. He sat back. Things were already getting weird, but the job had started. He had a name, a face, and a goal. What he didn't know yet was that finding Zira would not be the hard part. The hard part would be choosing what to do after he found her. And that choice would change everything. Jake Carter didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark, staring at the message that had flashed and vanished from his screen. She didn't disappear. She escaped. Don't trust him. No name, no sender, no trace. It was like someone had spoken directly into his head and then disappeared. Outside his window, The city of Station 9 blinked with broken lights and fake stars. Below, crowds moved through metal streets, blind to the secrets floating above them. Jake lit a cheap synth smoke and opened his tracker. The job had started. He began where most stories of the lost begin, in the shadows, the black market, deep. In the underbelly of Station 9, Jake met with a fixer named Milo, a four-eyed alien who wore broken glasses just for fashion. "You want to find someone who doesn't want to be found?" Milo asked, sipping glowing green tea. "That's dangerous, Carter. Very dangerous." Jake showed Zira's photo. "Have you seen her?" Milo stared at it. His smile disappeared. "Maybe I have," he said slowly. "But not here, not anymore." "Where then?" Milo leaned in. His voice dropped. "She was spotted on Krellin 5, a dead planet. No law, no rules. Just outcasts and criminals. If she's there, she's hiding from more than just her husband." Jake narrowed his eyes. "You sure?" Milo nodded. "She wasn't alone. Some said she paid with something more valuable than money. Freedom, maybe, or secrets." Jake stood up. "Send me everything, routes, schedules, local contacts." Milo hesitated. "Be careful, human. If you touch fire, don't cry when it burns." The next day, Jake boarded a stolen cargo ship headed for Krell on -5. It was old and falling apart, but fast enough. He flew through asteroid belts, jumped 2 wormholes, and crossed into no space, a lawless zone where ships vanished and pirates ruled. For 3 days, nothing happened. On the 4th day, something did. A silent ship followed his trail. Jake noticed it on radar. It never spoke, never attacked, just stayed in the dark behind him. He changed direction. It followed. He powered weapons. It disappeared. Jake knew one thing. He wasn't alone anymore. When he finally landed on Krellin 5, it was night. But on Krellin 5, it was always night. The planet was covered in black ash clouds and broken buildings. The air was thin, the people thinner. This was a place where the galaxy's secrets came to hide. Jake moved through the streets, asking questions, showing Zira's image. Most people shook their heads. Some stared too long. A few walked away without a word. Finally, a woman approached him. She wore a dark hood, but Jake could see part of her face. She looked human, but not quite. Her eyes were a strange color, like gold mixed with storm clouds. "I saw her," the woman said. Jake stared at her. "You sure?" The woman nodded. "She came here a month ago. Paid someone to erase her trail. She wanted to disappear." Jake's heart beat faster. "Do you know where she went?" The woman paused. "I'll take you," she said. "But not for free." Jake sighed. "What do you want?" She smiled faintly. "Just company. You seem like someone who doesn't run from danger." Jake didn't trust her, but he didn't have a choice. "Fine." They walked through the ruins, past gangs and robot parts, through abandoned tunnels. "That smelled like rust and memory. I never got your name." Jake said. The woman looked at him. "Zira," she said. Jake stopped walking. The woman turned and lowered her hood. It was her. The face from the photo. The wife, the target. But something was wrong. She wasn't scared. She wasn't hiding. She had brought him here. Jake reached for his weapon, but she didn't flinch. "You work for him," she said softly, "but you don't know what he is." Jake didn't answer. His mind raced. Zira walked closer. "Do you want to know why I ran?" She whispered. "Because I was never his wife. I was his property, a pet, a symbol. I escaped, and I won't go back." Jake looked into her eyes. There was no fear, only fire. Before he could speak, a blast hit the wall behind them. Dust filled the air. Zira grabbed his arm. "They found us," she said. "Come with me if you want the truth." And just like that, the hunter became the hunted. Some planets are forgotten. Others are left behind on purpose. Krellin 5 was one of them. It was a place where no law existed, where criminals found peace and the innocent found pain. No suns reached its skies, no light ever stayed long. Only ash, shadows and voices from the past. Jake Carter had seen war, death, and betrayal, but Krellin 5 still made his skin crawl. And now, he was running through its ruins with the one woman he was supposed to find. Zira, the wife of his alien employer. VARNOK. Only. Nothing was as it seemed. The moment she grabbed his arm and pulled him into the tunnel, everything changed. Zira moved fast, like she knew every step, every wall, every hole in the broken city. Behind them, blaster shots echoed through the tunnels. They're not bounty hunters, Zira said. They're trackers, Varnok's private death squad. Jake followed her, heart pounding. Why would your husband send killers? He asked, breathing hard. Zira looked over her shoulder. Because I know what he's hiding. And he can't afford to let me talk. They stopped in a large chamber lit by glowing mushrooms and old alien tech. Zira sealed the doors. Jake raised his gun. Start talking. Everything, Zira turned slowly. He told you I disappeared, didn't he? Jake nodded. He lied, she said. He kept me like a bird in a golden cage. I was part of a treaty. Between species, I was raised in a lab, half human, half Zorik. Built to marry him. Jake's hands tightened on the gun. And you ran? Zira stepped closer. I escaped, she said. I didn't want to be a prize. I wanted to be free. Jake didn't lower the weapon. Why bring me here? Because you're not like the others, she said. You hesitate. You think before. You shoot. And I've been watching you. Jake blinked. What? Zira smiled slightly. I sent the warning message. I hacked your system. I chose you. Jake stepped back. So this was a setup? No, Zira said. It was a test. I needed to know if you'd come for the money. Or the truth. Jake stared at her. His thoughts were spinning. Part of him wanted to walk away, but another part wanted to believe her. Before he could answer, the walls shook. They found us again, Zira said. There's only one way out. They ran through a maze of tunnels, jumped over broken pipes, crawled through vents filled with smoke and sparks. Suddenly, Zira stopped. In front of them stood a tall figure in black armor, his face hidden behind a mirror-like mask. Tracker. Without a word, he raised his blaster. Zira pushed Jake aside. The shot hit the wall, and dust exploded. Jake fired back. 3 shots. The figure dropped, armor smoking. Zira ran to the body and took a small black chip from his arm. He was broadcasting our location, she said. We have minutes, maybe less. Finally, they reached a dead end, a rusty hatch covered in alien writing. Zira placed her hand on a scanner. The door hissed open. Inside, a small hidden ship, powered down and silent. Jake whistled. Yours? Zira nodded. Stolen from Varnok before I left. He doesn't know I kept it. As the ship powered on, Zira turned to Jake. I can't run alone anymore, she said. I need someone who knows how to fight and how to choose. Jake stared at her. He had come to complete a job, but now the job had become something else. Suddenly, his comm device buzzed. A message from Varnok. Report, did you find her? Jake looked at Zira, then at the blinking message. He pressed record. Target not found. No trace. Planet empty. He hit send. Zira's eyes widened. You lied to him. Jake smiled faintly. No, I made a choice. The ship lifted off, silently rising into Krillin's smoky sky. Outside, trackers searched the tunnels. Inside, 2 fugitives flew into the unknown together. Asterisk space was quiet. Too quiet. Inside the small stolen ship, Jake Carter sat across from Zira, the woman he was paid to find, and now, the woman he had just lied to his employer to protect. Zira piloted the ship through the dark side of a nearby moon. The stars outside were cold, silent, but the silence inside the ship was louder. Jake finally broke it. You said Varnock wasn't really your husband. You said he owned you. Zira didn't look at him. I said the truth, she replied. You just didn't want to believe it. After a long pause, she turned off the autopilot and faced him. You want to know who Varnock really is? She asked. Jake leaned forward. Tell me everything, Zira nodded. Fine, but once you hear it, there's no going back. She walked over to a storage panel, unlocked it, and pulled out an old data pad. It lit up with files, images, and hidden reports, most marked classified Zorak Empire. Zira opened the first video. It showed a lab, white walls, scientists, and a young girl inside a glass room, half human, half alien. Her eyes were full of fear. That's me, Zira said softly. I was grown, built, designed to bridge two species. To be a living contract. Jake watched, shocked. I was trained to speak 12 languages by the age of 5, she continued. I learned war, politics, and how to smile when I was hurting. Jake asked, so Varnock chose you? Zira's face hardened. No, he bought me. When I turned 20, I was given to him as part of a peace agreement. A gift, a prize, not a person. Jake clenched his fists. That's sick, Zira nodded. He told the galaxy I was his wife. But in private, I was locked away, watched, controlled. She played another video this time, a secret conversation between Varnock and a Zorak general. Varnock, she's not my partner. She's leverage. One day, she'd be useful. Jake felt cold all over. Why hasn't the galaxy stopped him? Zira looked at him. Because they're afraid. Varnock funds half the outer systems. He owns armies, planets, media. Jake stood up, pacing. Why me then? Why send me to find you? Because you're small, unknown, disposable, she said. He thought you'd return me without asking questions. He didn't expect you to care. Jake looked at her. And you? Why did you lead me into that trap on Krellin? Zira didn't blink. Because I needed to know if you were like him. And now? Jake asked quietly. Zira stepped closer. Her voice dropped. Now I think you're different. But I'm still not sure. Suddenly, the ship's alarm beeped. Jake jumped to the control panel. We've got company. Zira checked the radar. It's not Varnock's people. It's worse. On the screen, a bounty ship. Civilian, fast, and loaded with weapons. They've locked on, Jake said. How much is your head worth again? Zira sighed. More than your ship, probably. The enemy ship fired. Jake dodged fast, flying low between rocks and debris. Lasers screamed past the cockpit. The ship shook. Hang on. Jake shouted. Pulling a hard right, they dove into a dead satellite field. Broken machines, spinning slowly in space. Inside the ship, lights flickered. Power levels dropping, Zira said. Shields at 40%, Jake cursed. We need to hide. Zira pointed ahead. There, inside that wreck. Jake spotted it, an old mining freighter, abandoned and hollow. He flew into its dark belly and powered everything down. Silenced at the bounty. Ship passed over them, then disappeared. They waited in the dark for a full hour. Neither of them spoke. Finally, Jake exhaled. Close one. Zira leaned back. This is your life now. Always running. Still think I'm worth it? Jake looked at her, serious. You're not the problem. Varnock is. Zira gave him a sad smile. Then you should know. Varnock has a backup plan. Jake narrowed his eyes. What kind of plan? Zira opened one last file. It showed a new face. Another woman. Almost identical to Zira. Her name is Lyra, Zira said. A clone. A replacement. If he can't get me back, he'll just use her and pretend nothing happened. Jake felt a chill. You think he'll fool the galaxy? Zira nodded. He doesn't need to fool everyone. Just enough people to stay in power. Jake stepped Back, heart heavy. He had started this job for money. Now he was sitting in the dark with a woman who was never supposed to have a voice, and standing against a monster who wore the mask of a husband. Outside the wrecked ship, space drifted on cold and silent. But inside, a war had begun. Not with guns, with truth. And truth was the one thing Varna could never control. There are moments in life where the world feels like it pauses, not because everything is calm, but because something is about to change forever. Jake Carter stood in the dim blue light of the hidden ship, watching Zira sleep in the pilot's chair, her head tilted back, her breathing soft. She looked peaceful for the first time since he met her, but peace didn't last long in space. He sat alone, thoughts heavy. He had lied to Varnuk, fought off hunters, crossed half the galaxy for a woman he was never supposed to speak to, and now he didn't know who he was anymore. Jake stared at his reflection in the window. "What are you doing?" he whispered to himself, behind him. Zira stirred. "You think too loud," she said softly. Jake turned. "Did I wake you?" Zira stood up slowly, stretching. "No, I don't really sleep anymore. Not with trackers chasing us." Jake smiled weakly. "We've got a few hours. Radar's clear. No movement." Zira walked over and sat beside him. For a moment, they said nothing, just silence. And the hum of the ship. Zira broke it. "You could still turn me in, you know." Jake didn't answer. "You'd be rich, safe. Varnuk would forgive you." Jake looked at her. "You think I want any of that now?" Zira stared at him. "I don't know what you want." Jake leaned forward, voice quiet. "I want to stop running. I want this to matter." Zira looked down. "It does." A pause. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" she asked. Jake sighed. "No, because people like us, we usually don't get a next." She nodded. "Maybe that's why I keep looking at you." Jake turned to her. "Why?" "Because you remind me what it's like to feel real." The words hung between them. Danger outside, fire inside. Zira stood, walked to the window. "I've had everything taken from me," she said. "Name, freedom, my body, my future." Jake stood behind her. "You still have a choice, right now." Zira turned. "So do you." They looked at each other. Closer now. Too close. And then it happened. Not like in a movie. Not slow. Just two broken souls colliding. A kiss. A fire lit in the middle of cold space. But even in that moment, they knew this wasn't love. It was escape. It was defiance. It was two people saying, "We still belong to ourselves." The next morning, Jake woke up to an alarm. "Tracker signal detected," the ship announced. Zira jumped up. "He found us." Jake checked the screen. 3 ships. Coming fast, military signatures. Zira's eyes widened. Varnuk sent his elite. Jake powered the ship. "We can't outrun them." Zira thought fast. "We go through them, not away." Jake looked at her. "That's suicide." "No," she said. "It's war." As the enemy ships closed in, Jake and Zira took their positions. She handled weapons. He flew like a ghost through asteroid fields. Blasts lit up the black sky. The ship shook with every hit. Jake gritted his teeth. Shields dropping. Zira fired. Back. 2 down, 1 left. Then silence. No more firing. Jake scanned the area. "The last one backed off?" Zira looked out the window. "No, it's waiting." Suddenly, a new signal appeared. Varnuk, himself, a message played. "Jake Carter, you failed me. You were never meant to think. Only obey." Another voice followed, cold, robotic. "Return the asset, or be erased." Jake slammed the screen. He's calling her an asset. Again. Zira stepped beside him. "Then let's show him I'm not." The ship flew into the dark alone again, but not afraid. Jake and Zira didn't speak much after that. Not because they had nothing to say, But because they had said everything that mattered, they were no longer hunter and prey. They were allies. They were something more. And now, the man chasing them had finally made a mistake. He made it personal. Asterisk. There are moments when silence becomes a warning, when even the stars seem to hold their breath. Inside the ship, Jake and Zira sat quietly, floating in the edge of dead space between systems, between futures. They had crossed the galaxy, escaped bounty hunters, and even kissed death on Krellin 5. But now, they had no more places to run. Because Varnock was done sending hunters. He was coming himself. Zira stared at the ship's console. He's closing in. I read 6 ships, 2 destroyers, 1 command ship. Jake leaned against the wall. He's bringing a war for just 1 woman. Zira shook her head. Not just 1 woman, a secret, me, and proof he's a liar, a monster. If I speak, empires might fall, Jake paced. We can't fight that. No, Zira said. But we can steal something from him, something worse than death. Jake raised an eyebrow. What? Zira turned to him. Freedom. She pulled up a map, an old one, full of forgotten coordinates. There's a planet called Solace 7, she said. It's a dead world now. But it used to be a Zorak communications hub, abandoned, still has deep signal tech. Jake caught on. You want to broadcast the truth? Zira nodded. Not just to the Zorak Empire, to every species, every system. Let them see the files, the lies, the lab. Me. Jake crossed his arms. That'll make you the most wanted voice in the galaxy. Zira smiled. Maybe, or maybe. It'll set others free too. Jake looked at her, then at the map. He made his choice. We do it. But first, they needed help. They landed on a dusty moon outside the trade zones, Orden's Rock, a place full of broken ships, drunk pilots, and ex-soldiers with nothing left to lose. There Jake met an old friend, Rika, a human smuggler with 1 cybernetic eye and 10 stolen ships. Jake Carter, Rika said, laughing. I thought you died 3 jobs ago. Not yet, Jake replied. But I might if you don't help me. He showed her Zira's files. Rika's smile vanished. Damn. She whispered. This is big, real big. Jake leaned closer. Can you get us a signal booster and an escort off this rock? Rika nodded slowly. I can, for a price. Jake looked at her. Name it, she smirked. Next time I call for help, you come running. No questions. Jake didn't hesitate. Deal. They were almost ready. One night before departure, Zira stood alone, looking at the stars. Jake walked up quietly. You okay? Zira didn't look at him. Do you think people like me ever get a happy ending? Jake stepped beside her. I don't know, but I think you deserve a real one. Not something built in a lab. Zira smiled sadly. Even if I disappear tomorrow, I just want to leave something behind. A crack in the mask Varnock wears. Jake nodded. Then let's break it wide open. But nothing ever goes as planned. Just before they launched, Rika came running. They found U.S. She shouted, one of my crew sold us out. Varnock's ships are in orbit. Zira's voice turned cold. He's not going to wait this time. Jake grabbed his gear. We go now. We launch or we die. Explosions shook the dock. Zira and Jake ran toward their ship under red alarms and falling debris. They fought their way through 3 ambushes. Rika was shot in the arm, but kept firing. As they reached the ramp, a tall figure blocked the way. One of Varnock's elites. Jake aimed. Zira stepped in front. I'll handle this, she said. With lightning speed, she attacked. She wasn't just smart, she was trained. Built for diplomacy and combat. In seconds, the elite was down. Jake stared. Remind me never to make you mad, Zira smirked. Too late. They lifted off under fire. Engaging jump drive. Jake shouted, set course to Solace 7. Zira ordered as the stars stretched into lines and the ship vanished into hyperspace. They knew they had escaped one more trap, but ahead was the real storm. There are two kinds of freedom. One you run toward. The other? You fight for. And Jake Carter was done running. The stolen ship dropped out of hyperspace above Solace 7, a dead gray planet, floating alone like a forgotten grave. No cities. No life. But deep beneath its crust, an ancient Zorak relay still hummed in silence, waiting to wake. Zira stepped into her seat. Power scan clean. No ships in orbit. We're alone. Jake adjusted the controls. Let's hope it stays that way. Zira glanced at him. It won't. They landed inside a ruined crater. Ash clouds swirled in slow motion outside the ship. As they walked into the underground station, lights flickered. Unlike the planet itself remembered her, Zira found the old relay core. I upload the data. All of it, she said. The lab footage, my records. The clone project, Varnak's lies. Jake stood beside her. And once it's out there, Zira looked up. I don't belong to him. I belong to the stars. The upload began. The screen showed progress. 5%. 10%. But freedom never comes without a price. Above the surface, a shadow broke the clouds. Varnak's flagship. Incoming. Jake shouted. He found us. Zira stared at the console. We need 5 more minutes. Jake loaded his weapon. Bye. Time. Got it. He rushed back to the surface just as a small assault pod landed near their ship. From it stepped Varnak himself, tall, armored, eyes glowing like suns ready to explode. You disappoint me, Carter, Varnak said, voice calm. And sharp. Jake pointed his weapon. Guess I'm not as small as you thought. Varnak stepped closer. Where is she? Jake gritted his teeth. Where you can't reach. Inside the relay chamber, Zira kept uploading. 85%. 90%. She looked around the old station, touching the wires, the metal. This was once a voice of war, she whispered. Today, it tells the truth. Suddenly, boom. The door exploded inward. A soldier entered, weapon raised. Zira didn't move. You're too late. She pressed a final button. The console turned white. A global broadcast began, across systems, across galaxies. The truth was out. Outside, Varnak screamed as his communicator lit up with panic. Double quote, sir. The message is spreading. You uncontrolled channels, Earth, Zorak homeworld, everyone can see it. Footage of Zira's lab, her locked cell. Varnak's voice calling her leverage. All of it. Exposed. Jake smiled. That sound? That's the sound of empires cracking. Varnak roared and charged. Jake fought hard, but Varnak was stronger. Faster. Jake fell, bruised, bleeding. Varnak raised a blade. You chose the wrong side, human. Zira appeared behind him, silent. She held a weapon Varnak once gave her, decorative. Not meant for use. She pulled the trigger. A silent shot. Varnak dropped to his knees, eyes wide with disbelief. You built me to obey, Zira said coldly. But I was never yours. He fell and didn't get up again. Later, Jake woke inside the ship. Zira sat next to him, bruised but smiling. It's over, she whispered. Jake winced. You okay? I should ask you that, she said. You took a punch from a warlord. He laughed weakly. Worth it. They sat together as the ship left Solace 7. In the following days, systems across the galaxy erupted. Protests, investigations, alliances broken. Zira's face became a symbol not of fear, but of resistance. They didn't stay to watch. Jake and Zira disappeared into the stars, unwanted, unknown. Free, epilogue, optional voiceover style. Some people write history with power, others write it with pain. But once in a while, someone writes it with truth. She wasn't just a creation. He wasn't just a mercenary. They became something the galaxy couldn't control, and no matter where they go, Their story is still being told.